So over 20,000 emails related to the Epstein case have been made public, and there are a few in there that are making their rounds. This is the one that everyone's been talking about. It's an email exchange between Jeffrey Epstein and his brother Mark, and this is how it goes. And here's the one. Mark then replies with, ask him, referring to Bannon, if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. What? Bubba is a common nickname given to Bill Clinton, and he's even referred to as Bubba Clinton in a few of these emails.
Dirty facts about history that they'll never teach you in school. Part A.
Talk about it.
Pocahontas was 12 years old. She would entertain white colonists by doing cartwheels without wearing any clothes. This is actually one of the few things we know about her that's indisputable thanks to so many written accounts. From the 40s to the 70s, many Ivy League colleges, including Yale, Harvard, and Princeton, required all incoming freshmen to have nude photos taken of them. Administrators claimed it was to gauge the rate of diseases like rickets and scoliosis, but many believed the true reason behind them was much creepier. Most of the photos have since been destroyed, but thousands still remain in the Smithsonian's possession. In 1940, Walt Disney hired 11 little people to dress up as Pinocchio and wave to people at the movie's premiere. He left them on a theater balcony with enough food and wine for the day, but there was no way for them to get down. By late afternoon, they had all taken off their thick, sweaty costumes and were naked, drunk, and swearing at innocent parents and their children.
This father's reaction after being confronted of trying to force his daughters, who are now deceased, to marry older men is absolutely disgusting. If you want to watch the prison interview plus learn the details of the story, head over to my YouTube channel. It's all there.
I wanted the girls to be wed in arranged marriages in Egypt, right?
As arranged marriage now, this is big story because some people, they don't know what that means. They think we force a girl to marry the man we like, which is wrong.
Amina later wrote about her fears that you intended to, and these are her words, quote, sell them to the highest bidder, to an older man that she did not love in a land that she said she hated.
Okay.
What do you think about it?
Very funny. Very funny, really. I'm laughing. Do you see me? I laugh. It's very funny.
Crazy history were never taught in school. When Al Capone reached prison, he was diagnosed with neurosyphilis and eventually paroled early due to his limited mental capabilities. Only 3 objects have ever been found in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Pieces of wood, a copper hook, and a ball made of diorite, all discovered in 1872. Chang and Eng Bunker were conjoined twins who were brought to America at 18 years old to perform in a freak show. They escaped and settled in North Carolina, becoming U.S. citizens, owning slaves, marrying sisters, and producing 21 children together. 3 men escaped Alcatraz in a raft made of raincoats, and the FBI never found them. One man in the Middle Ages wrote a book claiming that witches were stealing men's private parts and keeping them as pets, ultimately leading to the European witch trials. There used to be a branch of the Nile River that ran right by the Great Pyramids. This is charcoal graffiti of gladiators drawn by children that was discovered in Pompeii.
You have to hear
Well,
this.
you know.
A Missouri man who lives inside of a cemetery actually saw the Grim Reaper. He said that he was in his house watching TV at about 3 o'clock in the morning when he heard a huge crash outside.
Oh my gosh.
Soon after he heard sirens. And
I decided to step out and see what was happening. I walked through the graveyard like a dumbass.
Cars,
Damn it, man.
firefighters, and an ambulance arriving. He walked through the
I wish he
cemetery
would attack me
to
in
get a
this
better
shit.
view of what was going on. As he looked down from the top of the hill, he saw that it was a horrific car accident, a head-on collision between 2 cars, during which one of the drivers actually died at the scene.
You got it closer
After
to
watching
exactly what I
police
said
and
than the other
paramedics
guy, but
took
he
the
left
road,
out the part where I
decided
scared
to
the
start
cop.
heading home. But then, all of the sudden,
And
he
when
heard
I
something
jumped in,
drop
that was
down from
Amber.
the tree beside
Pulled the
him.
covers
He
up over
turned
my
around
head.
to see what it was, and standing right in front of him was a strange, gray, faceless, humanoid figure. His heart jumped up into his throat, and he abruptly beelined it back home. He continued to hear this creature
Oh, he looked
behind
like
him, but he never
sort of
looked back.
dumbass.
He got home and immediately locked the doors.
You just debunked the story, man. Like I said, watching these videos together with you guys, Seekers, you always gotta do your own research, man. He just debunked it to us in real time. So, guess that story wasn't true. It's an edit, man. Tell me if y'all expert level at spotting out the edits. I know I can't be the only one.
Let's talk about one of the most disturbing final bosses in video game history,
God from Silent Hill 3. The objective of the antagonist in Silent Hill 3 is to birth the new god that Heather Mason is carrying inside of her. In fact, every time you die in the game, the demon behind me named Valtiel revives Heather. They want this new god to be born no matter what the cost. By the end of the game, Heather ends up getting rid of the god inside of her. But before she can deal the final blow, the main antagonist, Claudia here, ends up devouring the god right in front of her, trying to complete the ritual. Except the ritual fails big time. The god is born prematurely, misshapen, and only half-formed, which gives Heather the perfect opportunity to finish it off for good. Fun fact, the face that Valtiel gives God is supposed to look like Alessa Gillespie.
Whoa, I never knew that. That happened in that game.
The most unthinkable act to her young children. Lamora Williams will spend the rest of her life in prison after she knowingly and intentionally killed her 2 toddler sons by placing them in an oven and turning it on. She was convicted of 14 charges, including murder, in the October 2017 deaths of her sons Kayonte Penn, 2, and 1-year-old Jakarta Penn. Williams contacted police claiming she found her children dead in her Atlanta apartment. Williams reported a stove on Jakarta's head, and Kayonte on the floor with severe injuries. Despite Williams' claim that a caregiver was responsible, investigators concluded she had placed the children in the oven the night before. The kids' father, Jadil Penn, called the scene as being like a real horror movie. He claimed Williams' video called him after the killing, showing his motionless children on the ground. Williams was said to have suffered from a long history of mental illness that was brought on by her father's passing when she was 19 and being a single mother of 4. After her conviction, Williams was quickly sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 35 years.
Authorities have stopped investigating the case of a brazen thief who targeted a Japanese nursery school, even though the perpetrator is still on the loose. The crime spree began a few weeks ago when staff arrived to find more than a dozen indoor shoes missing from the cubbies where staff and students change into them before entering the main part of the building, as is customary in Japanese schools. The next day, even more shoes went missing, leading authorities to set up surveillance cameras around the school. And that's when they caught the unexpected culprit in action. Security footage revealed this weasel specifically selecting white canvas shoes, possibly because they were the lightest to carry, and then running off with them into the night. While weasels are known for collecting soft materials to build cozy nests for themselves and their families, this particular shoe enthusiast showed impeccable taste, making off with 22 canvas shoes in total. Although the stolen shoes were never recovered, the children were delighted to learn that their missing footwear might be helping to keep a wild friend warm and comfortable. These days, the cubbies are protected by netting overnight, but the little weasel's shoe shopping spree has become a favorite story at the school. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
This is why you should never run a marathon without changing your shoes or socks at least once. Because if you don't, you're gonna end up like this guy who ran 100 miles without changing a single time.
Oh, the pinkies. Oh, how do you believe? Dude.
And then committing.
Change your socks, man. That's what we all took from this that clip, bro. You should change it anyway, but definitely, bro. You saw this man in 4K, man. He ran a marathon too, wasn't changing the sock. Guess you can stop, man. Or have something ready, bro. That's insane.
The alleged crime. You see her loading up her car after shopping. This all happened.
So that lifestyle influencer stole more than $500 worth of stuff from Target. She recorded everything and then went home and posted a haul. It was said that she was scanning fake barcodes, so instead of scanning the items in her cart, she replaced them with cheaper items and scanned those instead. And I mean, we've all seen videos of people shoplifting at Target, Walmart, and all that, but the reason why this video went so viral is because not only did she steal all these items, but she was recording herself stealing, and then she went home, she did a haul, and she also did a day in the life with all the items that she stole. And the only reason she even got caught was because the footage from Target was posted on social media in hopes that someone can recognize her, and one of her followers were like, I follow this influencer on TikTok and Instagram. So they reached out and that's how they caught her. They were able to match the footage of her stealing at Target with the footage that she took to post on her TikTok showing off everything that she stole on that day. Now, another reason why this went so viral is because people are questioning how authentic is everything that we see on social media. You know, you see this woman who has this gorgeous house, beautiful furniture, everything just seems to be put together perfectly. And little did you know, she was actually stealing this entire time. This creator has gone back to posting but has turned off all her comments, and it just makes me wonder, how are you able to risk your life, your record, you know, your family, just to have this image on social media that is completely false? Part 7.
It's a farce, bro. I've said it before, I'll say it again, man. Social media, people, they want you to see things that they control. So you don't really know what's going on behind the picture, man. It's like sleight of hand. It's all a trick. Social media, bro. People seekers, man, wake up.
79 of some of the creepiest submechanophobia things I've ever seen. This is a gigantic dragon that is in water in Efteling again. His name is Joris de Draak, which loosely translates to George and the Dragon. I don't know why. This is just the dragon. Where the hell is George? Dutch really makes no sense sometimes. But yeah, this gigantic animatronic is sitting in like this bog, in like this swamp. Someone come get Donkey and come get his girlfriend out of here. If you don't like Shrek, I don't like you. Also, bro's neck looks like a Christmas tree. Here's another terrifying photo of it. Can you imagine falling in this dirty water with this gigantic moving dragon that spits fire? I couldn't. Also, you actually see it when you're on a roller coaster. So you can either see it when you're walking on the path, or if you're on a roller coaster and you go right past it. I'd be screaming for 2 reasons. The video I have doesn't show it in the actual water, but it shows it breathing fire, and it is very creepy the way it moves. So let me know how you would feel if you were to fall in the water, or even just see this thing normally. I wouldn't like it at all.
Me either. It's not really affecting me though. They said some people was creeped out by it. I don't think it really got to me. It's still scary though. That's the edit, man. Come on. We see through that.
There is something, though, that I have to tell you that I have not told you throughout this entire documentary. There's a reason why Nico knows so much about human sacrifice and the power of human blood. I'm gonna let Nico explain all this to you himself.
So one day, he opened the door, I stepped inside, he closed the door, that's when I pulled out the handgun and I shot him in the face. He fell down and I shot him a few other times in the skull. And it lasted 15 minutes more or less before he actually died because they were small caliber bullets.
That's right, Nico is one of the most famous convicted murderers in all of France, nicknamed the Vampire of Paris because he used to consume human flesh and drink human blood.
I'm Nico Clo, and I was born 52 years ago in Cameroon in Africa. My father...
Liam's case reminds me of Elisa Lam. There was an update showing the surveillance footage. This footage gives off a very strange and eerie vibe, and people are comparing it to Elisa Lam. His behavior in the footage seems very odd and confusing, similarly to what happened at the Cecil Hotel. In both, something feels very off and unexplained. Also, of course, I'm not trying to make light of any tragedies, like this is really sad, I'm just talking about what's going on. The Cecil Hotel is infamous for its history of unexplained death, criminal activity, eerie events, and this viral footage of Elisa Lam in the elevator before her mysterious death. It's become a symbol for conspiracies and urban legends and just mystery. The surveillance footage in both cases are leaving people wondering what happened before and after the cameras caught the moment, because in both, everybody's saying something is off. Cecil Hotel is famous for all of the history of creepy and mysterious things happening there, and that's why people are really curious about it. In the same way, when a celebrity like Liam starts acting strangely, it catches a lot of people's attention. Do you think something deeper is going on? Hit the plus for more conspiracies. It really helps when you interact.
When I tell
What's
you
going
this
on with
story,
Cecil
the
Hotel?
No Sleep subreddit kept me up all night. First of all, posted anonymously, but it's from a child psychiatrist living out in New York City. Now, he claimed he had an experience in the middle of the night when he woke up. He said he found a child scratching at his apartment window with bloodied fingers, which, as unnerving as it is, he had chalked it up as maybe some kind of creepy anomaly. However, the following night when he woke up in his bedroom, he sensed some kind of a presence in the room. When he turned over in his bed, he came face to face with the same boy who was staring at him from the edge of his bed. So somehow this boy had broken into the apartment, and he eventually led the psychiatrist to his home in the city, which happened to be a foster home. And as it turns out, he had been returned from a number of foster families who all thought there was something wrong with him. Eerie coincidence, the next day this psychiatrist finds out he is appointed to the boy as his patient. It was like this child was stalking the guy. And if you gotta know what happens next, this is the opening plot for Before, now streaming on Apple TV.
Stillwater. I can't believe I've been making these videos for almost 5 months, and I have not talked about the terror of Stillwater. By the way, I am very sick right now, so if I sound like a frog, that's why. Stillwater is one of the most terrifying things, especially to me, but in general, it is very, very dangerous and filled with millions of microorganisms, including brain-eating parasites. You don't want to ever fall in this. Oh, and by the way, those stairs being under the water like that for I don't even know how long, if you were to go on those stairs, they would immediately break with the weight of your body, and you would crash down and be in that water with all of that underwater stuff. Underwater mechanics, underwater stairs, no thank you. Who wants to go in the Stillwater Ussy? Not me. This is an abandoned pool that I found a picture of. Look at all the lovely infectious diseases just chilling on top like that. Here's some more images to music. How do you feel about all these?
Not I. I will not be going to brain eating amoeba. They need to freaking put like a warning sign or the
When I tell
something.
you this story on the No Sleep subreddit kept me up all night. First of all, posted anonymously, but it's from a child psychiatrist living out in New York City. Now, he claimed he had an experience in the middle of the night when he woke up. He said he found a child scratching at his apartment window with bloodied fingers, which, as unnerving as it is, he had chalked it up as maybe some kind of creepy anomaly. However, the following night when he woke up in his bedroom, he sensed some kind of a presence in the room. When he turned over in his bed, he came face to face with the same boy who was staring at him from the edge of his bed. So somehow this boy had broken into the apartment, and he eventually led the psychiatrist to his home in the city, which happened to be a foster home. And as it turns out, he had been returned from a number of foster families who all thought there was something wrong with him. Eerie coincidence, the next day this psychiatrist finds out he is appointed to the boy as his patient. It was like this child was stalking the guy. And if you gotta know what happens next, this is the opening plot for Before, now streaming on Apple TV.
Should I check that out?
Dangerous man on earth dubbed as the White Masked Man. There is some creepy ass stuff going on in Mexico at the moment. You may have seen this video a long time ago. Now you probably remember at the start of the year and last year when we had the whole urban legend and talk about the Serbian dancing lady. This is quite similar, but there's something really creepy about it. But this guy has actually been in the headlines for quite some time when he broke into the news back in 2023. Now this white man is often spotted around the streets of Mexico, just walking around, never wearing anything different. He lurks around and has what looks like blood coming from his mouth non-stop. Now you would think this is just a Halloween costume, but he has been wearing this every single day for nearly 2 years now. One night, apparently a young girl was just doing a jog through her town in the evening. She spotted this guy on the other side of the road, just stood there, waving and staring at her. It's far as we know, he hasn't actually committed any crimes, but we actually don't know. And many people are saying he's taking a lot of inspiration from the Terrifier. Is it just a guy who is cosplaying, or is it something a lot more disturbing? And what the hell is bro eating?
Yeah, what was in bro's mouth, man? I do not know. It looked like he was foaming at the damn mouth. And it did seem like he looked like Art the Clown. Don't let those other eggs get to his head, man. That's an edit.
Crazy things happening in the world right now. This wanted fugitive from an Ohio case 20 years ago was found working as a police officer. The New Zealand airport just put a 3-minute time limit on all goodbye hugs. A couple made guests buy $300 tickets to attend their wedding. This woman ran over her boyfriend while going to couples therapy. A family was told that their daughter had checked out of a hospital, but in reality she had passed away. An Alaska Airlines flight was turned around after the pilot admitted that he was not certified to land the plane. NAI model changed its own code in order to give itself more time. A 3D printed community in Texas is almost finished. A man threatened a Burger King worker after not taking drugs as payment and got 143 years in prison. A Chipotle employee says that their boss chased him out with a gun for not taking out the trash. Utility companies in Louisiana want state regulators to allow them to fine customers for lost profits from energy efficiency initiatives.
That doesn't even make sense.
Were the parents of Kelly Marvera in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. One night a house fire broke out and authorities told the parents that their 10-day-old baby Delimar had perished in the fire. And it wasn't until 6 years later that Luce was at a birthday party and saw a little girl named Aaliyah and instantly had a gut feeling that it was actually her child. Luce grabbed a strand of the girl's hair and sent it off to the police for DNA testing, which later confirmed that it was her daughter Delimar. Caroline Correa, who was a distant friend of a family member, was charged and found guilty of kidnapping and arson. She was living with Delimar just 15 miles away in New Jersey. Correa was sentenced to life in prison. Delimar was returned to her real family and now at 26 years old is speaking out in a 3-part documentary to explain what life was like coping with a brand new family.
Someone made a...
Imagine, man, you think your daughter or your child is going through that pain and going at a random birthday party, having a gut feeling and finding out that, bro, one of your friends took your child. I can't even imagine what that's like, man. This world, some bizarre things goes on.
A Punch-Out style horror game, and it's absolutely free. Let's talk about Porkbound. This is one of the strangest horror games I've played all year, but it actually works. And it really is like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out as a horror game. You play as a young boxer named Aaron who works on his family's pig farm. And not only is he dealing with bullies like here, he's dealing with the death of his brother. But one night, the bullies actually show up to the pig farm to further taunt Aaron. And then everything starts to go wrong. What is happening to the pigs, and why do they look like this? What follows is a series of Punch-Out style boss fights with more and more disturbing looking pig-like creatures. And when I say Punch-Out, I really do mean Punch-Out. The game plays basically exactly the same way, but as you're beating the bosses, there's a greater story to uncover. Now, I do have a full playthrough of this game on my channel if you're interested, so I don't want to spoil the story here, but the game is also free, so I definitely encourage you to check it out for yourself.
Punch-Out?
Talking about the possible serial killer in Grand Junction, Colorado, let me tell you about one of their most infamous murder cases. The Blacks were a picture-perfect family of born-again Christians until November 13th, 2001, when Michael came home to a pool of blood. His wife Jennifer and 6-year-old daughter Abby missing. The back door was left open, Jennifer's purse was spilled out on the floor, and her jewelry was missing. But when authorities looked at the crime scene, something was off. If a stranger had broken into their home, why would they leave items of value behind, like guns and cash? And why would they move the bodies in Jennifer's van and return it to the family's garage? In May the following year, investigators started digging through the Mesa County landfill. And after removing 3,000 tons of trash, they find the mummified remains of Jennifer Black. wrapped in a tent and surrounded by trash from her husband's workplace. Michael was convicted for only his wife's murder in 2004, but 13 years later he got a second shot at freedom. It turns out a juror lied on her questionnaire about being a victim of DV. In 2018 he got the same result, life in prison without the possibility of parole. And despite being convicted twice, he refuses to reveal the location of his 6-year-old daughter Abby. It's believed her remains are still
disgusting, man. Truly. Be your own blood. Heartbreaking story. That's sad, man. The expert level.
DNA test, which helped solve a cold case and put her grandmother in jail. In June of 1997, the remains of a deceased infant were found inside a campground pit toilet at the Garnett Lake Campground in Michigan. There was a toilet that needed to be cleaned by an employee, so they used a suction hose to try and clean it. That's when they realized that something had been flushed down that was causing it to be clogged, and it was a newborn baby. An autopsy was done on that baby girl, and it revealed that she was full term, so she was around 36 to 42 weeks. They had no identity for the victim, so they named her Baby Garnett. Once the local community had heard about this case, they were looking for answers because they had no idea who could have done this. Unfortunately, this case became a cold case, and they would not find answers until 25 years later. This girl on TikTok named Jenna made a Get Ready With Me video talking about how she had purchased a Ancestry DNA kit. She spat in the tube, sent it off, and got her results. And about a year later, in 2022, a police officer called her and told her that they had reopened a case from about 25 years ago and that her DNA was a direct match to the victim in the case. Police end up taking a sample of Jenna's mom's DNA. With that and Jenna's DNA, they were finally able to solve the case of Baby Garnett. With the information now that police had, it revealed that Baby Garnett was the sibling of Jenna's mom and also the deceased aunt of Jenna. Both Jenna and her mom were aware of this case because it would be rare for someone in the local community not to know about it, and I'm sure that they were very shocked to find out that they were actually related to the victim in the case. In July 2022, Jenna's grandmother, Nancy Growatowski, would be arrested. She would be charged with murder, involuntary manslaughter, and concealing the death of an individual. The state alleges that Nancy had delivered the baby at her home and did not seek any kind of medical intervention to try and save the baby. Instead, she hid the baby in an outhouse in the campground. In October of 2023, Nancy was released on a bond, but she had to stay home and wear a GPS tracking device. In May of this year, it was revealed that Nancy would stand trial for the case. Nancy is expected to appear for a motion hearing in court on December 12th, and I'm sure we will get some more information soon. This is all the information that is out there right now. I'm going to tag Jenna's account in my caption so you can go check out her video so you can hear the story in her own words. And remember to go get those DNA test kits.
What if I told you that the Church of England banned Christmas in 1647? Well, you can't spell Santa without Satan. So, is Santa Claus really Satan, the devil in disguise? Think about it. Do you really believe people just made up a story about a 350-pound man stuffing himself down your chimney? No. The World Book Encyclopedia admits that this concept originated from the Norse legend of Hertha, a so-called goddess who would appear in fireplaces to bring good luck to the home. A devilish spirit could easily pass through a chimney in a fireplace, right? And it doesn't stop there. Druid homeowners would leave treats, milk, and pastries to appease this god who came down their chimneys. Sound familiar? That's right, it's all about worship. Even today, many religions leave milk and food in front of their idols. Now let's talk about stockings, leaving them out for Santa. This tradition is eerily similar to witchcraft practices, where socks or personal items are used in spells to target the victim. Just like how, as kids, we're told to leave teeth out for the tooth fairy. It's the same trap. So, yes, Santa will leave you some great gifts in your stockings, for sure. Oh, and here's the kicker. The word Santa is a true anagram of Satan. Yet many people believe Santa Claus is based on a priest named Saint Nicholas. But guess what? That priest never even existed. The Second Vatican Council in the 1970s openly admitted it was all a fabrication. And don't forget, people used to call the devil Old Nick. They're rubbing it right in your face. Some speculate this nickname comes from German and Scandinavian words, starting with Nick, which were used for dangerous supernatural creatures. So, who's really coming down your chimney this Christmas? Follow my backup account and leave a comment for part 2, because there's more to this than meets the eye. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, that's gonna make us question everything. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
I learned a few things today that I genuinely was not expecting. Steve Jobs was known to put his feet in public toilets as a way to relieve his stress. There was a swarm of 20,000 bees that followed a car for 2 days because their queen bee was trapped inside. 90% of people in China and Singapore now own their homes. In the US and Canada, that number is only 65%.
Of course.
In Germany and Switzerland, that number is only 43%, but it's because they have specific incentives for long-term renting, and they have strong tenant protections that we just don't have. NASA dumps 500,000 gallons of water on their rockets before takeoff just to make sure, it doesn't blow itself up. There was a study of over 1 million comments from over 15 years of relationship advice on the subreddit for relationship advice. The red line on this graph is the advice to just end the relationship, and you could tell from 2010 to 2025, that advice got a lot more poked. 13 Call of Duty games have come out since Grand Theft Auto 5.
This is how you'd spend your last 24 hours on death row. You'd start your day by leaving the normal prison and entering the D house. Upon entry, their belongings would be taken and they would obviously be searched. They would then be given new clothes and taken to their final destination. The cells here would tend to be better than the ones in the actual prison, and it would only be them in there. So they're pretty much in solitary confinement. They would then be given around an hour to talk to their family and friends on the phone. They would then go back to their cell for their final night's sleep. Next morning, they will be given the chance to write letters to family and friends. After this, they'll be taken to another small cell where they will be held for the rest of the day. After this, they will get their final meal, and you can choose pretty much anything within reason. After this, they will be escorted for their final walk, which some call the Green Mile. They will then be prepped for their final minutes. Their family and friends can come and watch and say goodbye.
Horrifying, bro.
Castiophobia, Christmas tradition.
Christmas movies? I ain't afraid of Christmas. There it is, what the heck? Okay, the cramp is what am I getting, bro?
I'm about to ruin your childhood, part 33. My mother is actually not the real daughter of Chief Tui. She's actually Maui's long-lost daughter, which is why they both look so alike. And why Moana has powers like Maui, because she's also a demigod.
Really? I gotta dive deep into that theory, bro.
I am still processing what I just found out today. A man intentionally destroyed a dam in 1993 that caused a mass flooding of the Mississippi River straight up just to delay his wife's return home so he could continue to party with his friends. The terms uppercase and lowercase come from the physical cases where printers kept their letters. Nebraska put into place the first child surrendering law in 2008. This was a law that allowed new parents to legally and anonymously give up their baby instead of doing something more desperate. This was meant for babies under 30 days old, but because the law did not have an age limit, people actually started giving up their 10 to 17-year-old children, and so that law was quickly amended. Daughter from California syndrome is literally a term in the medical field for an angry and uninformed family member of a terminal patient demanding aggressive treatment against advice. 10 to 15% of formerly married couples reconcile after separating.
I'm about to ruin your childhood, part 4. Have you ever wondered why Candace's mom can't see all the crazy things Phineas and Ferb do? Well, that's because Phineas died tragically when he was younger, and Ferb was born with a disability. Candace couldn't cope with it and became mentally ill. Candace built an imaginary world where Phineas was still alive and the brothers did amazing things together. And Dr. Doofenshmirtz is a psychologist who's trying to get her back to normal. The last episode, when the brothers go to college, symbolizes her brother's death and her ability to move on with her life.
Really? What the hell? And then they come back with the like new season. I heard it was on like Disney Plus or something like that, right? So I don't know how that theory holds up, bro.
Here are some content creators who have tragically died. Tamisha Ridge, known online as Misha Boo, was a popular fashion influencer who shared her talents with others on her YouTube channel. She would make tutorials of creative ways to make or repurpose clothing for those on a budget, as well as show off the new clothing she would give. In her personal life, Ridge was a mother of 3 and was working to become a fashion designer. She was in an on-and-off relationship with Demislo Green, the father to one of her children, for 10 years, but decided to officially call it off and move to Sacramento, California. The Sacramento District Attorney reports state that Green had a history of domestic violence, but on the fateful night of May 14, 2014, he took it a step further. He entered Ridge's home while her and her 3 children slept and shot Ridge in the head with a shotgun. He later turned himself in for a parole violation, and he was charged with the murder of Tamisha Ridge. Green was found guilty on multiple charges in 2018 and was sentenced with 75 years to life in prison, where he will be eligible for parole in the year 2039.
Facts about heaven you can find in the Bible. There is no moon, sun or light because God is the light of heaven. Stop the clock because there is no such thing as time. Everyone will have their own home or mansion in heaven. And lastly, death shall be no more, neither mourning nor crying nor pain anymore. Make sure you share this message and follow for more.
Okay.
This is our house. Our room is upstairs. This is our dad. This is Robin from next door.
Why, hello there, Robin. It's very nice to have you as our new neighbor. I'm the professor.
Yeah, he made us in his laboratory by accident.
Well, what can I say?
Don't worry, Professor. I was an accident, too. Your dad is funny.
The Craziest Disney Theories, Part 1. In Monsters, Inc., monsters can teleport to various worlds through these doors. Well, Boo may have found a way to manipulate that teleportation for herself, including time travel. This results in her becoming the nice old witch and brave who can teleport wherever she wants using doors. In her own residence, you can even see a carving of Sully as a reminder of her past.
Wow, really? Those Disney theories, man. They're kind of hard.
One night in the winter of 1984, a healthy, middle-aged woman, who we'll call Brenda for this story, was at her home in London reading a book when she suddenly heard a voice in her head.
Please don't be afraid. My friend and I, we used to work at the Children's Hospital, and we would like to help you.
It was so clear, and it did not sound like any voice she had heard before. Brenda just sat on the couch and didn't do anything, and just waited. The voice in her head seemed to pick up on her reaction and said,
Brenda, this is not a hallucination. We're real, and we want to help you.
She believed she had just lost her mind, and first thing the next morning, she went to her doctor's office. The doctor referred her to a psychiatrist. They said, look, I don't really know why you're hearing these voices. There's no clear medical explanation for why. And so Brenda was ultimately diagnosed with something called functional hallucinatory psychosis. The psychiatrist began treating Brenda with an antipsychotic drug as well as with supportive counseling. The voices eventually stopped. She actually went on vacation with her family outside of London just to celebrate the fact that she had not, in fact, lost her mind. But while she was away on holiday, she started hearing the voices again. They told her she had to get back to London as soon as possible because there was something terribly wrong with her. And they gave her a very specific street address that she was supposed to go to seek treatment. And so finally, Brenda convinced her family to end the vacation early, and they headed back to London. Brenda made her husband come with her, and they drove to the street address the voices had given her. They found themselves standing in front of the brain scan unit of a London hospital. The voices in Brenda's head came back, and they told her,
you need to go inside and you need to request a brain scan for 2 reasons. 1, there's a tumor in your brain, and 2, this tumor is causing your brainstem to swell.
Brenda was so scared that this information might actually be true, she went right inside the brain scan unit, and she ultimately told them that, well, there are voices in my head that told me to come over here and get this scan. Now, the doctors at the brain scan facility were not totally like, get out of here, but instead they said, look, this is a very expensive scan. We need a clinical reason to do it. She ends up calling her psychiatrist, and she explains the situation. Her psychiatrist says, okay, you know what? I will call over and I will get you an appointment to get a brain scan. And about a month later, Brenda went in, she had the scan done, she had a brain tumor, and her brainstem was swollen. The doctors couldn't believe it because Brenda was showing absolutely no signs. Brenda decided to go with immediate surgery. And after telling her doctors as much, the voices in her head told her that she had made the right decision. A couple of days later, Brenda went in, and her surgery was a huge success. The voices spoke to her. They said,
"We are pleased to have helped you. Goodbye."
After that, Brenda never heard the voices ever again, and she never had any complications from the surgery or from the tumor.
Trump is absolutely swollen and looks guilty as hell with these new Epstein email leaks. Let's go through a few of these emails. Here we have a message from 2011 when Jeffrey Epstein emails Ghislaine Maxwell and says, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump." And then victim redacted, who we now know is Virginia Giuffre, a known Epstein victim, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. This is interesting to me because this email is from 2011, which would have been sent years after Trump claimed publicly that he, disavowed Epstein and banned him from his club. Then you have this email from author Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein talking about Trump, even suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein could allow Trump to quote, and basically says he could allow Trump to lie about never being on Epstein's plane or at his house and allow him to embarrass himself because that information is true. He also claims that Epstein could save Donald Trump with some of the information and generate a debt. That to me screams blackmail. There's also this email from Epstein to Michael Wolff talking about Mar-a-Lago, Trump's club, where Epstein repeats the lie that Donald Trump has repeatedly stated, where he claims that he asked Epstein to resign or banned him from the club, and Epstein refutes that and said he was never even a member. And damningly at the end he says, of course he knew about the girls, as he asked Ghislaine to stop. So that looks really bad. And I want you to notice in that email he says Trump knew about the girls. This is really bad because Trump has claimed in the past that it was finding out that Virginia Giuffre had been recruited by Epstein and Maxwell. That was what led him to kick Epstein out of the club. But here Epstein's saying he knew about the girls, plural, and that's something that I don't get. So if you find out that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are essentially trafficking women, underage women, and the worst thing that you do to the man is ban him from your club, that's your actual official story, you don't actually give a shit about protecting these children. You care more about your own image. I mean, to all the people who defended that action in the past and have come at me constantly in my comments, I don't get it. He did not call the police. People say, oh, he was an FBI informant, blah, blah, blah. No, he wasn't. That is false information. So why would Trump just kick Epstein out of the club and not go to the police or any authorities with this information? Clearly, he knew what was happening, at least to a degree. There are so many disclosures here, though. It is just crazy, and I'm going to keep you guys updated as things keep rolling out. If you want to do a deep dive on Epstein with me, head over to my channel, The Conspiracy Files, or you can listen to my podcast on all streaming platforms. I have done 7 full-length, over an hour-long episodes about Epstein so far, and I'm going to be releasing my biggest, longest, baddest one yet just next week.
Here are some places that you are not allowed to visit. Part 4. In 1974, a group of men digging a well in the Lingtong district of Xi'an stumbled upon the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the man who unified China in 221 BC. Although the site has been slightly excavated, the mausoleum is so large that many artifacts have yet to be unearthed. Rumored to be protecting Qin Shi Huang in the afterlife are 8,000 clay terracotta soldier statues, 130 chariots, and 670 horses, all of which vary in size and features. This mausoleum is a World Heritage Site and allows no public visitors, and even the people allowed inside have never been in the actual tomb itself. As of today, the tomb hasn't been fully excavated yet, leaving whatever lies inside an ancient mystery.
What's inside? Damn, what are they hiding, bro?
Here's some haunting last photos of people, part 4. Pavel Kashin was a Russian parkour artist who was famously known for doing backflips on the edges of buildings. He loved the sense of danger in these stunts, but his love for the sport would later be his downfall. This is the last photo taken of Pavel, which shows him in the midst of doing his final stunt. The stunt itself was successful, but after landing, he lost his footing and fell 16 stories to his death.
Well, parkour is a wild sport, man.
Here's some of the scariest unknown creatures caught on camera, part 6. This drone footage captured in the deep parts of the Salt Fork Park in Ohio captures what may be evidence of the elusive Bigfoot. As the drone begins to land, pay attention to the thickets and tell me what you think.
I don't see nothing yet. Something moving? Oh, I see it now. What the hell? I need y'all prediction down below. What's that? Bigfoot, Sasquatch? A bear standing up, bro? There could be many possibilities on that one. I don't know.
Here are some creatures you should be glad are extinct. The Gigantopithecus holds the record for being the largest ape to ever live. They grew to be around 10 feet tall, weighed over 1,200 pounds, and lived in what is now southern China for 6 to 9 million years. They eventually went extinct at the beginning of the Pleistocene ice ages around 100,000 years ago. Scientists believe that this primate walked on all fours like modern apes do, while others believe that they walked with a bipedal or human-like motion, but there is no way to tell who's correct. Due to the way their teeth and jaws were constructed, they had the ability to crush, cut, and grind down almost anything, including very tough and fibrous foods. With all this in mind, this is not an animal you would want to come across in the jungle.
Telling me, bro. They say it could get as big as King Kong? What the hell? Yeah. 7 years? I know he got arrested, but I ain't know he was facing 7 years, bro. Why is he like he happy about it?
She stole the me a month ago. Stole everything.
If you're thinking about going to Colombia, you might want to stay away from the dating apps because what happened to this man is wild. So this American guy traveled to Medellin, went on Bumble to meet women, and met her. They end up going on a date one night, then he brings her back to his place and she spiked his drink. This man completely knocks out and she steals all his money, his phone, and his computer. He then eventually wakes up 20 hours later in his hotel and then he goes to police and he reports what happened to him. Police then tell him that he's so lucky to be alive because about 40 Americans have been killed recently from this. So fast forward, a month goes by. And this man in this video is out in the city and bumps into the same woman that almost took his life. That's where you see in the video, he's chasing her and she's trying to run away. I was looking into other stories very similar to this one, and last year, this 50-year-old man from Minnesota was talking to a woman online who lived in Colombia. He then flew into Medellin to meet her, and only a few weeks into his trip, he calls his brother and asks that he send him $2,000. His brother transfers the money and then never hears of him again. Police then found this man's body dumped in a wooded area. It turns out that he was kidnapped and held at gunpoint for the $2,000 ransom. And this is the thing, a lot of these male tourists don't seem to be scared because they think that they're meeting only women, but when, they're drugged and brought to the hotel, there's sometimes men there waiting for them. And let's just be clear, this isn't only happening in Colombia, it's happening in other foreign countries as well.
We just got this.
before GTA 6. So over 20,000 emails related to the Epstein case have been made public, and there are a few in there that are making their rounds. Note that these are not the full official files that everyone's been asking about and waiting on. Those are still nowhere to be found. But out of all of these emails, this is the one that everyone's been talking about. It's an email exchange between Jeffrey Epstein and his brother Mark, and this is how it goes. So we have Mark writing to Jeffrey asking, how are you doing? A while back you mentioned that you were pre-diabetic. Has anything changed with that? What is your boy Donald up to now? Jeffrey hits him back with all good, Bannon with me, referring to Steve Bannon, a former White House advisor who served in the first few months of President Trump's first administration. And here's the one. Mark then replies with, ask him, referring to Bannon, if Putin has the photos of Trump blowing Bubba. What? Bubba is a common nickname given to Bill Clinton, and he's even referred to as Bubba Clinton in a few of these emails. And Jeffrey responds with, and I thought I had Tesaurus, which I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's basically a Yiddish term for problems. Yiddish being a Judeo-German language. Mark hits him back with, you and your boy Donnie can make a remake of the movie Get Hard. I don't even want to try to explain that. Jeffrey replies with, you mean Donnie T? And then Mark gets back with, I'd rather be in Donnie D's shoes. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe one of you guys can let me know. But now everyone's asking, does Putin really have photos of Trump doing that? This sure does give a whole new meaning to his big, beautiful bill. Mark Epstein, who's still alive, actually surprisingly responded to these claims, saying the message was being misread, that they were simply part of a humorous private exchange between two brothers and were never meant for public release or to be interpreted as serious remarks. Adding, for the avoidance of doubt, the reference to Bubba in this correspondence is not in any way a reference to former President Bill Clinton. And then Mark's spokesperson said that Bubba is a private individual who is not a public figure. So there is a Bubba. This is just the weirdest news ever. But do you guys remember the portrait of Bill Clinton that Jeffrey Epstein had in his Manhattan townhouse? That was seized by law enforcement, who said that it was just hanging there as soon as you walked in a room to the right. And then we have Bill's oddly mischievous reply to him getting asked about any connection to Epstein. Oh, the evidence is clear, huh? If that face doesn't say, you got me, I don't know what does. And everyone's just trying to connect the dots and make a whole thing out of this, which is just insane, but is also probably taking away from the severity of the other emails that were leaked. But then the White House official account starts posting stuff like this for apparent damage control just a few days after the emails got released, which honestly makes it look even more sus, and I don't know if this is like a giant publicity stunt for them, but that's what they did. And this is also a real photo taken in June 2000 at Trump Tower in New York of Donald Trump and Bill Clinton. There have been a lot of AI edits of this, but the original photo is real. At the end of the day, maybe these emails really were just a joke. Who knows? Referring to only this exchange in particular, specifically that message. There are some very disturbing emails in this leak of 20,000 that are definitely not a joke and should be taken very seriously. And maybe this whole Bubba thing is just a distraction from what's really hidden in those emails. Maybe this message in particular was real and those pics really do exist, or maybe Mark was just joshing around. Like, be honest, we all say stuff a lot worse than this among our friends. Like, how cooked would you be if your group chat got leaked?
You nightmares. Many doctors have said that the most common last words that they hear are, I don't feel so good. Most of the laughing sound effects that you hear on TV shows were recorded in the 1950s, meaning that most of those people that you hear laughing are probably dead. During the French Revolution, it was said that the guillotine had to be used multiple times to get the job done. The reason why planes shut their lights off right before they land is so that the passengers' eyes can adjust to the dark just in case there's a crash. This is so that if the power goes off during the crash landing, they can better find an escape route.
This girl was born with two heads. Manar Magid was born in Egypt in 2004, but she wasn't born alone. Attached to her head was another head, a second skull, a face that could blink, smile, and move its lips, but had no body of its own. It was her twin, a parasitic twin, fused to her scalp and feeding off her bloodstream. The condition is called Craniohopicus parasiticus, and it's so rare that fewer than a dozen cases have ever been recorded in human history. The second head had no thoughts, no consciousness, but it moved, and it lived through her. Doctors feared that Manar wouldn't survive. The parasitic twin was draining her body's strength. Her organs overworked just to keep both heads alive. Every heartbeat, every breath, shared. In 2005, at just 10 months old, Manar underwent a high-risk surgery to remove the second head. The surgery was a success, and it was the first of its kind. And Manar lived. She opened her eyes, she smiled, but the victory was short. Just weeks after the surgery, she died of a brain infection. Her body simply couldn't keep up.
We have some crazy things happening in the world right now. Kim Jong-un watched as North Korea's newest warship literally fell off the dock. A man proposed to his girlfriend with a tornado swirling in the background. Nvidia is attempting to create an entire digital twin of the Earth. Rockstar changed the appearance of a character from the GTA 6 trailer after a Florida man claimed it was him and asked for money. AI can now guess passwords with 93% accuracy just by listening to the sounds of your keyboard keystrokes over Zoom. Can you guess that? Russian scientists thawed out 300 worms from Siberian permafrost, and 2 of them that are both over 30,000 years old came back to life. Don't think that's gonna end well for us. This is the world's last known white giraffe, and he is being tracked by a GPS after his female counterpart and calf were taken out by poachers.
Babies who were born on the literal perfect day. Back in 2019, a baby girl was born on July 11th, making the date 7/11. Well, the baby was also born at 7:11 p.m., and the baby also weighed 7 pounds and 11 ounces. From this, the convenience store 7-Eleven saw this and gave the baby $7,111, making this baby the most 7-Eleven baby in history. Next, in 2022, this baby girl was born at one of the craziest times possible because she was born on February 22nd, 2022, which is 2/22/2022. But she was also born at 2:22 a.m. and she weighed 7 pounds and 10 ounces, which makes her a total 122 total ounces. And I can't forget that she was born in room number 2 of the hospital. This is absolutely wild.
You know how all those things have to line up for something like that to happen? That's like truly rare.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Episode 20. Number 1. Coffin births. This is a rare phenomenon that is scientifically known as post-mortem fetal extrusion. It occurs when a pregnant woman dies and her body expels the fetus. The gases in the abdomen builds up and then forces the stillborn fetus out. Number 2. Jeannie, the feral child. Discovered in 1970, Jeannie was a girl who had been kept isolated by her family in Los Angeles for over a decade. She was almost entirely mute and had barely any exposure to human interaction or the outside world. Number 3. The Green Children of Woolpit. In the 12th century, 2 children with green-tinted skin appeared in the village of Woolpit in England. They spoke an unknown language and only ate raw beans. Eventually, their skin lost its green color and they adapted to normal food. The origin of these children still remains a mystery. Number 4. The Hinterkaifeck murders. In 1922, an entire family was mysteriously murdered at their farm in Germany. Reports found footsteps leading to their farm, but not away. This case was never solved. 6. The Devil's Kettle. In Minnesota, United States, there is a waterfall that splits into 2. One side flowing into a river and the other side vanishing into a hole. Scientists still don't know where that water goes. Number 7. NASA would never release information about asteroids approaching Earth. Not because they're worried about us freaking out. It's because we don't have the technology to detect if there are asteroids coming from very far away. Number 8. Human extinction. This is linked to number 7. We can't really confirm if any asteroids are coming to hit us because in 2017 an asteroid named AG-13 was about to hit Earth with less than the distance of the moon. The asteroid flew so fast, scientists were only able to see it 48 hours before it could have hit Earth. This is real information. Let me know if you want part 21.
First of all, these waves are screaming to you to not come in. And then to put your child in that situation and to record it.
This elephant killed a woman and crashed her funeral. In 2022, 70-year-old Maya Murmur was gathering water near her home in India. It was supposed to be a routine task, but that morning, a herd of wild elephants emerged from the nearby forest. Most villagers know to keep their distance. Maya tried to flee, but one elephant broke away from the group, chased her down, and trampled her with brutal force. She died at the scene. Her grieving family arranged a funeral later that day. As is custom, Maya's body was placed atop a wooden pyre for cremation, a solemn ritual under the open sky. But then, thunderous footsteps echoed in the distance. The same elephant had returned, and this time it brought reinforcements. A stampede of elephants crashed into the village mid-funeral, sending terrified relatives running for cover. In a scene that defied any logic, the very elephant that had killed Maya pulled her lifeless body from the pyre and trampled her a second time. Her remains were left mangled, and the ceremony was left in ruin. This elephant must have had some personal issues with Maya, and this death is just extremely unfortunate.
Inappropriate.
I don't know what Maya did to the elephant, man, but that's insane. He literally came back on the feet again, even though he already did it the first time, bro. That is extremely odd. I don't know what was going on with that elephant.
Children's books that actually exist, Part 2. The Loneliest Hoe in the World, written by Travis Heaton and published in 2002, this Christmas tale begins with Santa preparing to depart with his reindeer. He congratulates his elves on a job well done by sharing with them some elf juice, and then boards his sleigh until coming to the realization that he's forgotten his hose. Christmas isn't Christmas without hose, Santa proclaims. Ain't that the truth? You Can't Be an Astronaut, It's Just Not Realistic, written by Joseph Smets. This book is a 26-page story that documents a boy who meets astronauts and shares his dream of having their career in his future. They point blank tell him not to bother. They go further by telling him of the complicated prerequisites and the difficult trigonometry. And when the boy asks if he can be an astrologist instead, they tell him astrology is a joke of a career.
Let's see if you have submechanophobia. I'm going to show you 5 photos. Try your best to make it through all 5. Let's start the test.
Here we go.
First one. How does this make you feel?
I'm okay.
Hang on in there. The ocean is terrifying.
What is that?
Last one. So how did you do? Did you make it through all 5? If not, then you could have submechanophobia, which is the fear of submerged man-made objects. Let me know if you have submechanophobia in the comments below, and remember to hit the plus sign and follow me to see if you can make it through the next phobia test.
I'm good.
Disturbing history facts I wish I didn't know. Tarare, a Frenchman from the 1700s, ate extraordinarily large amount of food, including animals and allegedly a baby. He suffered from polyphagia and died at 26. In 1888, James Jameson, heir to the Jameson whiskey fortune, bought a 10-year-old girl to observe her being unalived and eaten by cannibals in Congo. In the 18th century, dentures were sometimes made from the teeth of dead soldiers, notably those from the Battle of Waterloo, and sold to the wealthy. A Colorado farmer's chicken named Mike lived for 18 months without a head becoming a sensation and touring the U.S. Ancient Romans used human urine as a teeth whitening and stain remover for clothes due to its ammonia content. Frederick Bauer, the inventor of the Pringles can, was so proud of his invention that his remains were buried in a Pringles can after his death in 2008.
Nah, that man was dedicated to his invention, bro. His remains
As
in a
we all
Pringle
know,
can.
there's been a new wave of conflict in the Middle East, where multiple air bases were under attack, including the one in Qatar. The United Arab Emirates strongly condemns the attack, considering it a blatant violation of the sovereignty of the state of Qatar and its airspace. The act is also a clear breach of international law and the United Nations Charter. To the citizens and residents in the UAE, kindly stay away from sharing content that are not from a reliable source. If you do, you must know, spreading misinformation contributes to panic, confusion, and societal division. In times like this, awareness is a responsibility. Let it be clear, we are not in danger. Circulating unverified videos only fuels panic, when in reality, the situation on our soil remains stable and secure. Again, we are not in danger. If you do come across any information or incidents that may affect public safety, do not hesitate to report them. Here are the official numbers for the concerned national security authorities. All reports are handled with complete confidentiality. Put your trust in your leaders. The UAE has always stood for peace and progress. We do not and will not involve ourselves in political conflicts. We choose evolution, not war. May Allah keep us safe, united, and guided by wisdom.
Morbid Facts, Part 310. On the day before 9/11, George Carlin recorded a live set in Las Vegas titled I Kinda Like It When a Lot of People Die, intended as the closing segment of his next special on HBO. But after the attacks the very next morning, the title suddenly felt incredibly disrespectful for obvious reasons. Carlin wisely shelved the material and renamed the special Complaints and Grievances. A few years later, he planned to revive the original title for a new special, only to scrap it once again following the devastation of Hurricane Katrina. In 1959, popular New York DJ Peter Tripp locked himself in a glass booth in Times Square and attempted to stay awake for more than 200 hours as part of a publicity stunt. But as the days passed, Tripp's mind began to unravel. He started hallucinating vividly, screaming that doctors were imposters, believing that people were trying to poison him, and insisting that the furniture was on fire. By the end of it, he had entered a full-on psychotic state. Though he eventually recovered enough to return to broadcasting, those close to him said he was never the same psychologically. His stunt became one of the earliest public examples of sleep deprivation's terrifying effects on the human brain.
It's possible that
That's
your
insane,
best
bro.
friend might not consider you their best friend. You're not as nice as you think you are. Like, you're most definitely the villain in somebody else's story. Finding love isn't guaranteed in this life, and it's quite possible that the person that you might fall in love with one day in the future is in love with somebody else right now.
That's a sad fact.
This is why you should never play hide and seek. A mom decided to play hide and seek with her 2 kids. The mom began counting, ready or not, here I come. She begins searching the downstairs kitchen because she knows that they hide there every single time. As she's walking to the kitchen, she starts saying, I wonder where they are. She looks under the table and sees they aren't there, which is kind of odd. She knew they were too scared to go into the basement alone, but she decided to check anyway. They weren't there either. She began to panic. The mom then says, Jordan, Casey, come out now, mommy's not playing anymore. There was no answer. Panic really begins to set in. She decides to call 911 and reaches an operator. She tells the operator what's wrong and the operator sends an officer to her house. Once the officer arrives, he says, don't worry, we will find them. As she's sitting in the living room, she hears giggling and laughing and hears a closet door slam upstairs. She sprints upstairs and says, Jordan, Casey, you worried me sick. She opened the closet door and nobody was there. While all of this is going on, she hears the doorbell ring. She runs downstairs and finds the officer holding Jordan and Casey. The officer says, they were hiding in the shed out back. Then Jordan looks at mommy and says, why were you telling us to stay in the shed?
3 normal things in one country but shocking to the rest of the world. Part 12. Number 3. In Germany, the deposit system for bottles and cans actively encourages recycling. When you buy a drink, you pay a small additional sum, called Pfand, which is refunded when you return the empty bottle or can to a collection point. This initiative, aimed at promoting recycling and reducing waste, allows consumers to earn a bit of money in return. Number 2. In Japan, the tradition of Valentine's Day is somewhat different from many other countries. On February 14th, it is usually the women who give chocolates to men, whether it's romantic love, work colleagues, or friends. Men are not supposed to give gifts on Valentine's Day. However, they have their turn a month later, on March 14th, during White Day, where they are expected to give a gift in return to those who gave them chocolates. Number 1. Public toilets in America are often surprising to foreigners due to the lack of privacy they offer. Stalls are designed with large gaps between the doors and frames, allowing a partial view inside. Additionally, the doors are usually shorter, sometimes exposing users' legs. While this design is typical in the US, it can shock those who are used to complete privacy in public toilets.
The hell? Got some weird toilet designs going on around the
Biblical
world.
places that still exist. Jordan River, where Jesus was baptized.
Wow.
The rock that
Beautiful.
Moses struck and water came out. Jesus' tomb.
I heard they try to read that. That ain't well.
River of Galilee that Jesus walked on. Red Sea that Moses split. Synagogue that Jesus went to.
Gotta preserve all those sites.
Garden of Gethsemane where Jesus was arrested.
Full bloom.
Place where Jesus healed the paralytic. Place where Jesus told Sermon on the Mount.
3 extremely disturbing facts you won't believe are actually true. Number 3. In a bizarre case, an Ohio man was mistakenly declared dead by the Social Security Administration in 1979. Upon discovering this error in 1994, he immediately initiated legal action to restore his status as a living person. However, a judge refused to overturn the decision, stating that there was a 3-year limit to challenge such a declaration. As a result, this man is legally living as a deceased person in his own country. Number 2. There's a disturbing practice at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. The chicks that hatch live in front of visitors in their chick hatching exhibit are then sent to the Brookfield Zoo where they are fed to predator animals. This is a shocking truth hidden behind a seemingly innocent exhibit. Number 1. Disneyland and Disney World are iconic places, often associated with joyful family memories. However, there's a strange phenomenon that occurs in these parks. People so frequently scatter the ashes of their loved ones there that Disney had to establish a special procedure to deal with it. A dedicated team is ready to intervene as soon as an ash scattering is reported, cleaning up the area to maintain the park's joyful atmosphere.
You have to hear this. A man claims that he encountered a demon while working as security at a strip club. Protestant Christian YouTuber End Times Productions said that back in 2015, when he was 29 years old, he got hired as a security guy at a strip club in Key West, Florida. He said that he's a big guy, 6'4" and 225 pounds. And after a year, he worked his way up to becoming the main security guy there. He said that the club was open until 4 a.m. and that it was a very busy part of town. He referred to it as Party Central. He said that he has many stories about the place, but there's one night in particular that he will never forget. He said that one night at around 2:30 a.m., a woman tried to come into the club. He said that they would never let single women into the club because they would, quote, snipe the men. And they wanted all the men to stay there because they were paying the bartenders, the dancers, and the waitresses. So it was bad for business. On this particular night, the woman, who was around 40 years old, approached him and tried to make small talk. He said, okay, cool, but I can't let you in. She started to get a little upset and angry, but he said, sorry, no matter what you do or what you say, I can't let you in. She then grew more angry and started arguing with him. So he said, just leave before I call the police. What happened next is crazy. He said that she turned around and started to walk away. Then she turned back toward him with an evil grin on her face, but her eyes were completely black. There was no white in them at all. He said that shivers went up his spine and his blood ran cold. And he was thinking to himself, whoa, what just happened? As she walked out the door.
I don't know. That sounds like that could be a skinwalker. Eyes turned on black. Or a case of the black eyed kids. Even if he was just doing his job, he wasn't letting her in. I don't know what her problem was. She could have been a demon. That's what he said. Yeah, late at
A
night.
6-year-old took the life of his classmate because she rejected him. 6-year-old Dedrick Owens lived in Mount Morris Township, Michigan, which was about an hour away from the state's capital. He wasn't born into the best family as his father was in jail, but on the other hand, his mother was there and tried to support him and his brother as much as she could. She worked 2 jobs, but it wasn't enough and they got evicted. Dedrick ended up living in a crack house with his uncle, and this soon would affect his behavior. At 6 years old, his behavior was really bad. He would swear, flip people off, pinch, and hit other kids. His behavior got so bad that he had even stabbed a girl with a pencil in his school. On February 29th of 2000, Detrick got into a fight with another male classmate. It escalated so quickly that he had even threatened to shoot the boy. No one knew that Detrick had found a gun at his uncle's house and brought it with him to school along with a knife. He decided not to use it yet because he had plans on using it on 6-year-old Kayla Rowland. Just the day before, Detrick tried to kiss Kayla, but she pushed him away and rejected him, which made him really mad and he wanted revenge. Once it was time to change classes, Detrick walked up to Kayla and said, "I don't like you," and shot her once in the arm. The bullet entered her right arm and hit a vital artery, which caused her to suffer from a cardiac arrest, and she was pronounced dead. Detrick had threw the gun in the trash before running to a nearby bathroom, but eventually was cornered by teachers and law enforcement. Once he was in police custody, he explained what he had done and showed no remorse. Because of Detrick's age, he was not charged with murder, but was instead expelled for 90 days and was placed into foster care. His uncle ended up being arrested and sentenced up to 15 years for involuntary manslaughter.
These are brands with disturbing secrets. Surprisingly, Kellogg's cornflakes weren't invented as a tasty breakfast cereal, but to curb sexual desires. A fanatically religious John Harvey Kellogg invented the cereal while working at a sanitarium and believed that richer foods would increase your sexual desires while plain foods would lessen it. So he invented the most boring breakfast cereal ever to stop people enjoying themselves a little too much. Thankfully, his brother Will would come to the rescue and see some sense by adding sugar and marketing the cereal properly, eventually winning a legal battle for control of the whole company.
Whoa. You know that's the wrong theory.
Ants can live a really long time. Like, way longer than I thought. Your normal everyday ant can live like 4 to 15 years. And there have been queens on record living up to 28 years. Next time I have to step on an ant, I'm really gonna be like mourning their whole ass life. This is the hog-nosed snake, and when it feels threatened, it'll puff itself up and hiss at you. But if that doesn't work, it'll flip itself over and play dead. And if you take the snake and flip it from its back to its belly, it'll just flip itself back over. Like, no, I'm supposed to be dead. Penguins are able to drink salt water like it's fresh water because they have this gland behind their eyes that actually filters their blood and allows them to sneeze the salt out. Now, I'm not saying that we need to hire a bunch of penguins to save the world or whatever, but it's an option.
You're spitting at the end.
According to a recent study on rainbow trout, fish can suffer for more than 20 minutes of intense pain after being taken out of the water. When fish are removed from water, their gills collapse, preventing oxygen intake and causing carbon dioxide to build up in their system. This triggers a strong physiological pain response, which researchers now widely accept as evidence that fish can experience real suffering. The study adds to growing scientific consensus that fish are sentient, capable of feeling pain, and should be treated more humanely in commercial fishing and aquaculture practices.
She lost her life from this poisonous birthday cake.
Where'd she get the cake from?
On March 24th of 2024, it was 10-year-old Manvi's birthday in India. For her birthday celebration, her family ordered a cake online from a place called Cake Ganha. Around 7 p.m., Manvi was cutting the cake in front of her family, and this was all being recorded on video. All of the family members, including Manvi, consumed the cake, and about 3 hours later, they all got really sick. Manvi and her sister began vomiting, and she even complained of extreme thirst and dryness in her mouth, so she asked for water. After drinking her water, she went to sleep, but by the morning, her health would deteriorate. Around 3 a.m. is when everything would go downhill for Manvi, and her family rushed her to the hospital. When she arrived to the hospital, doctors administered oxygen to her and an ECG was done, but soon after that, she passed away. Her family claimed that there had to be a poisonous substance in the cake since they all got sick and filed a report against the owner of Cake Kanha. Back at home, Manvi's family still had the cake sitting there, so they took a sample of it so it could get tested, and once it came back, it revealed that her cause of death was suspected food poisoning. Ultimately, high levels of synthetic sweetener made the whole family sick from eating this cake and even resulted in death.
Man, we gotta watch what they be putting into this food. Synthetic sweeteners, man, just for them to save some money. And look what happened. watch what we put into our bodies, man. Just give us natural food from the earth, like it was intended.
Historical belongings that survived. King Edward VII love chair, made because he's fat and he had more than 50 mistresses. King Henry VIII armor. Queen Elizabeth I coronation glove. Comparison between Queen Elizabeth I and Elizabeth II coronation gloves. Catherine the Great furniture. Warning, do not look it up. Marie Antoinette's death mask. Queen Victoria's mourning dress. Shirt worn by King Charles I at the time of his execution. Queen Victoria's drawing of King Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. Tooth and hair belonging to Catherine Parr.
The 3 most dangerous places you should never set foot. Number 3. The Hoia Baciu Forest, located in Romania, is often dubbed the Haunted Forest due to the many paranormal stories reported there. Many visitors have described feelings of anxiety, a sense of being watched, and some even claim to have seen ghostly apparitions. In addition to the inexplicable phenomena, the forest features oddly shaped trees in areas where vegetation doesn't grow at all, heightening its mysterious ambience. Number 2. The Chernobyl zone in Ukraine is the site of the biggest nuclear disaster in history. In 1986, a reactor at the nuclear power plant exploded, releasing significant amounts of radioactive material into the environment. Today, while some parts of the region are open for strictly controlled tours, others remain highly contaminated by radiation and can pose a severe health hazard. It's crucial to adhere to safety guidelines and not stray off marked paths. Number 1. The Valley of the Kings in Egypt, located on the west bank of the Nile near Luxor, is famous for its royal tombs dating back to ancient Egypt. While it's a popular tourist destination, it comes with risks. Beyond natural dangers like extreme heat and the risk of dehydration, there have been speculations and legends about the Pharaoh's curse, where those who disturb the Pharaoh's tombs would be cursed.
Facts that I wish I didn't know. When you die, the last thing to go is your hearing. So as all your other mortal sensations are leaving this world, the last thing you're ever going to experience are the sounds going on around you, which very well could be like your family members crying or cheering. By the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. When pigs get a cold, like a cough, very often they will shoot their intestines out of their anus, and farmers have to, like, stuff it back in.
That's disturbing.
This is why you should always keep pictures of your parents. A little girl named Olivia, who lived a very quiet life, decided to check her homework assignments that were posted online. The teacher posted that they needed to write down their favorite memory with their family as well as bring a photograph. Olivia then writes about how her and her mom play dolls every night in the basement before bed and that she has a lot of fun doing so. She finishes her paragraph and then looks in her dad's drawer for a photograph of mom. She only found pictures of her mom from high school but decided to use it anyway. Olivia goes to bed and wakes up the next morning. Once she arrives at school, the teacher then says, "Let's start presenting our project." Then the teacher called Olivia's name to present. Olivia then begins to read about how her and her mom play dolls every night and then pulls out the photograph. As soon as Olivia pulled out the photograph, her teacher's face goes numb. She then asks Olivia if she can take a closer look at the photograph. She then recognized her mom as one of her previous students. Then the teacher asks, "Where did you get this photo?" Olivia says, "My dad keeps them in his drawer." The teacher, shocked, sits down Olivia and pulls out an old newspaper. The newspaper headline, "Local high school teen murdered, boyfriend gone missing." The teacher then looks at Olivia and says, "Your mom has been dead for 14 years.
So who's the dad then? What the hell? Let's seek the truth.
Watermelon should not be breathing. They're literally feeding us anything. Watch this, y'all.
It should not be doing that.
Wait, is that it making a noise?
Should not be moving like that.
Something inside that water bottle, bro.
They are literally trying to get rid of us, and the evidence is in the food. Stay weird.
Let me tell you about some interesting things I learned today. When you get electrocuted, it's not the electricity that throws you across the room, it's just the force of your muscles contracting, which means that we are strong enough to instantly throw ourselves across the room. There was a man who sued Pepsi after finding a mouse in his Mountain Dew. The worst part of this is the attorneys claimed that the Mountain Dew would dissolve a mouse in 30 days, and they showed proof that the Mountain Dew was purchased almost 90 days after it was manufactured. I don't know how to feel about that. Apparently in a 5-digit zip code, the first number is your national area, the second number is your state, the third number is your sectional center or PO, the fourth and fifth numbers are small post offices or zones. I didn't realize there was that much of a structure to it, to be honest. This is a magnified photo of human skin after it's poked by a needle. I already hate needles, so this just doesn't make it better. About 95% of all spiders in our homes either were born in our homes or adapted to life in our homes, and if you take the spider outside, they will likely not survive. That's kind of sad, but also just don't show yourself in my house and you'll be safe. The word stress is just desserts spelled backwards. Those two things being related checks out.
Bruh, the sea golly, yeah, the one straight out of the Bible, just turned red and nobody knows why. Now what they're saying is this is just from the algae, but I don't think so, y'all. This shit look like something out of the 10 plagues. Am I tripping? Don't it look like that? That shit look crazy, fool. They said this shit went from blue to red overnight. Now you tell me, how does something go from blue to red that quick, like in an instant? Boom. You already know, you got the scientists saying, look, y'all, this is nothing to be worried about, nothing to be alarmed about. But when they say that, I feel like that's when you should be alarmed or worried. Well, I know when they tell us everything's gonna be fine, that's when you should start worrying. This shit look like the Nile, the stories your grandma used to tell you and shit. Y'all remember them stories? Them Jones that used to have you nervous? And with everything going on in that part of the world right now, this shit just feels too planned. It feels too perfect. That shit is crazy. Maybe it's nature, or maybe it's just a sign, or maybe it's just a sign we're not ready to see. It hurts my...
Is that nature? Or is it something else, man? Some weird things happening in the world.
My brain. 8 babies have just been born in the UK from 3 parents. And to make your brain hurt too, it's from 2 mothers. But what's even cooler than being able to be more progressive than your most blue-haired friend is that having 3 parents can prevent several life-threatening hereditary conditions. In fact, it's kind of the whole point. Scientists in Newcastle combined DNA from 3 people. The egg from a mother, the sperm from a father, and then a second egg from, I guess, the other mother. And what this method does is that it allows mitochondria, which may carry genetic disorders from the original parents, to be replaced with healthy mitochondria from the donor, aka your other mother. And while this science, known as 3-person IVF, isn't necessarily new, this is the first time we've seen a successful birth of babies from this method in the UK. And I'm glad to report the 8 newborn children are healthy and showing no signs of mitochondrial disease. And don't worry, they're not gonna have to grow up explaining to their friends what a throuple is, because more than 99.9% of the child's DNA comes from their 2 parents, and only a tiny fraction coming from the donor. Still pretty damn cool though.
I've been seeing a lot of talk about Hurricane Katrina lately, and that's great. I'm glad that we're finally talking about what actually happened there. But something that I never hear anyone mention when talking about Katrina is this guy right here, because he is a true hero that never gets recognition. It had been 2 days since Hurricane Katrina had devastated the city of New Orleans. The amount of people that were in need of rescue after the hurricane hit was astronomical. As we know, the Superdome was being opened up as a shelter for displaced residents, but they actually had such an overflow of people that now had no homes to return to that the Astrodome, all the way in Houston, Texas, began opening its doors to house people. As you may have already heard in documentaries about Katrina, helicopters and boats, all of the recovery efforts in the first few days of flooding were going right on past the predominantly black neighborhoods in New Orleans. People were stuck sleeping on their roofs and in their attics with no food, no water, no electricity, with their children in tow and all. And most of them had no option. They relied on public transportation and didn't have a vehicle to leave even if they wanted to evacuate. So this man, 20-year-old Jabbar Gibson, began to formulate a plan to get out. He had been stuck inside of his complex for 2 days with no food or water and began to hear reports that neighboring areas were being swallowed whole by floodwaters. He went searching for a way out and came across a barn with a bunch of abandoned school buses inside. Now, Jabbar didn't even have his license to drive, but he knew what he needed to do. So he drove the Orleans Parish school bus back to his complex and loaded up as many people as possible onto it. it. What's crazy is that even though he was doing the right thing, police still showed up, made everyone get off the bus, and told Jabbar to hand over the keys. Thankfully, Jabbar's mother was able to convince officers that now is not the right time. Don't you guys have better things to be doing? And from there, Jabbar transported 70 people, 13 hours to the Houston Astrodome, and his bus was the first to arrive.
He was giving a lecture to his class when this happens. A college professor from Argentina was preparing to give his new class a lecture. But while he was recording a video, he noticed something strange happening in the background.
Hola, ¿cómo les va? Hoy vamos a hablar de niveles de conocimiento. ¿Bien? Hay 4 niveles de conocimiento. El primer nivel es la ignorancia, el segundo nivel es la estupidez, el tercer nivel es la inteligencia y el cuarto nivel es la sabiduría. ¿En qué se diferencia cada uno de estos 4 niveles? Vamos a charlar ahora para después cada uno ver en qué nivel estamos.
Turn back at him?
El primer nivel es el nivel de la ignorancia. En este nivel, la persona no tiene los recursos necesarios para lidiar con el desafío que se le propone.
As he's recording, his reflection in the background turns around and stares into the camera, as if it has a mind of its own. The professor explains he doesn't believe in the paranormal, but he has no way of explaining what he just captured on video. Tell me what you think.
I am obsessed. Oh my goodness. Did you know that whenever they had the little alien from Men in Black that's in the head, it is actually this big? Like, yeah, sure, that's kind of creepy and all, but like, I'm obsessed with Men in Black, one of my favorite movies of all time, and I never knew this. Like, they had a small version for like the far away shots and everything, but then they had the big version because, you know, they had to actually make the alien articulate, and it's an animatronic. There's a video at the end if you want to check that out. Here's what it looks like in the actual movie. You can see like the face is taken off and then little alien bro is in there, which by the way, that face is a mood. Like, bro is done with life. They named this little alien Chucky, like they named the animatronic Chucky, and it's just so freaking cute. I'm obsessed with aliens. I don't know why. I've just always been obsessed with them. I had a little doll named Blix that I carried around as a child, and that was like my alien baby doll. And like they couldn't make the actual mouth lip sync the words when it was like small because it was like the size of a pencil. Like, so they had to have it big to actually make the alien, you know, look like it's actual moving its facial features. Watch this video and let me know what you're thinking. The first one is going to be the one that's small and you'll see the difference. And then the second one is the big one. This is so cool.
I never knew that. The Men in Black, man. That's dedication to the craft, bro. Nowadays, you know, it would have just been CG.
So that thunderstorm that just happened in Nebraska, there's no way you can convince me that this right here is not no galactical war. Then they talking about we supposed to be having aliens supposed to be here in 2 weeks, and we having storms like this?
Hey guys, this is not time-lapse, you know, manipulated video. This is actually live right now. The camera every once in a while moving around too, but that is a lot of lightning.
So you gonna tell me that this is not some kind of spiritual war that's going on right now? Like Darth Vader and Master Yoda is not having a bump down session. It's either that or the sky is literally malfunctioning. Never in my 20 years have I seen this much thunder in one storm. And then a few hours later, that same storm flooded Milwaukee. Whoa. There's nothing nobody can tell me that could convince me that that was not some type of war that was going on. But y'all let me know y'all thoughts on what y'all think about this crazy storm in the comments. Like and follow for more wisdom and stay tuned. Y'all think this was some type of spiritual war? A crazy storm? Or the Matrix glitching? I don't know, but things getting strange.
There's a theory that Garth Brooks isn't just a country legend, but he's a serial killer secretly hiding in plain sight. This all started when comedian Tom Segura started pointing out something strange. A disturbing amount of people have gone missing in cities where Garth Brooks was told what you believe and follow for more.
What do you think, Seekers?
2025. You know, these guys have successfully predicted quite a lot of ridiculous things, and there's some crazy ones for 2025 you probably don't even want to know, to be honest with you. There was this prediction years and years ago about an Iron Dome over America, and now recently it is pretty much definitely happening, known as the Golden Dome. It's been speculated a lot that AI is going to take over and robots, but apparently they predicted it would happen in 2025 and 2026. With AI systems and chatbots getting so advanced that they will take over, give false information, and basically ruin the world, which, yeah, Kind of see that happening. There was apparently an episode that broadcast in the early 2000s showing a Trump 2024 sign and also showing that he won that year. Although I'm not sure about that one, I can find that officially. The Simpsons movie from 2007 predicted that there would be a economical crisis in 2025 and also a natural disaster. You know what's been going on in the economy recently, and we also had this last week, which was insane.
Matching
By
up.
far the scariest bit is the ones that haven't come true yet, such as a zombie apocalypse coming out of China, apparently. Mate, please no.
What do you guys think, man, about those Simpson theories, man? Because, like I said, when it comes to the Simpsons, bro, they be calling it in some earlier episodes. I don't know how they can do that prediction like that, but they be on the money, so we always got to pay attention to that, man.
Some of the creepiest videos on the internet, part 10. The popular American rapper XXXTentacion was murdered on June 18th, 2018, and his death broke the hearts of many. Many people visited his memorial to leave gifts, but some people captured much more. The YouTube channel The Fam recorded a video trying to communicate with this beloved rapper, but accidentally captured this. But someone else got a lot more than this. The YouTube channel Selva the Explorer got to speak with him through her spirit box. Here's some things he had to say.
What is your favorite song that you ever recorded? What's the name of your favorite song? Are you in the white bike? Is there anything else you want to tell us?
Every year, every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not.
That was just hard to watch. I mean, it's incredibly obvious that Pam Bondi was caught in a lie right there, and she really didn't know how to react. I mean, she even deflected to her buddy Trump, looked over at him, not knowing exactly what to say to respond to that reporter's question. And if you look at the comment section on social media platforms where that video was posted, there are tons of individuals who work with security cameras all the time commenting that what she said is just not true. Now, I already said days ago that I don't even believe the footage, regardless of the minute missing. I think that might be some sort of a distraction. We're talking about the United States government. Just think of how advanced their CGI or AI capabilities are. I mean, it would take no effort to edit an old, grainy clip of a hallway and cut somebody or something out of it. But I want you to think of it a little bit differently. Even if Epstein, that's something that I don't really see people talking about too often. And I can't believe that anybody thought that this clown would ever tell the truth while in office.
It's about Nickelodeon. What? The main guy was kind of weird, and he did weird stuff, but a lot of people wouldn't notice. Yeah. So the green slime. Every award show, the winners would get poured slime on them. Yeah, when they. That's like a big thing. This is not my theory. This is their theory. They made it the green screen green, so they can make it Take the color. Another color, and guess what color that would be on all your favorite kid artists. Dog, that's actually crazy. And the crazy thing is, I'm like, yo, this Loki might not even be a reach. All the backstory that I know about the Nickelodeon guy, he was very like.
Come on! Give up the juice!
What is she doing?
Oh, yeah. Check this out! Yes! 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 No, I don't want to see that thing again. Put it away!
You do it way more gentle than my mom does it.
That is so not tight, but it hurts!
I heard you swallow.
You're holding your banana backwards! Is it my turn to squat?
Dan Schneider's
Fam,
like, yo, they could have made it orange. Why isn't it orange? That's Nickelodeon's main color. Yeah, you're right though. And it's green screen green. It's not no like regular Minecraft green. It's
Yeah,
like
when they had the award shows, that's when they started making
when
it.
they started.
That's crazy.
Fam,
That's dirt though. That's
dirty, fam.
That's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
messed up in the head, fam.
Super.
Why do you think? Are they just sick like that?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, bruh.
Bacon avocado.
We know, man, when he got exposed, bro, so. Man, when you a kid, you just don't pick up on that. I didn't even think about that until now. And that's green. Yeah, you could change that color into anything, the edits. So I'm like, Why was it that color? Why was it green? All those scenes of Victorious Not Carly, you didn't pick up on them until now, so.
The government's been secretly building an underground city using $21 trillion of taxpayer money, built from 1998 until 2015, as revealed by former Bush official Catherine Austin Fitts, who admitted they've constructed a luxury city under the United States to shelter the elite and powerful in case of a mass extinction event. It's also being used for secret government projects and space technology programs. Parts of the city are even beneath the ocean and are complete with schools, hospitals, and jails, as well as state-of-the-art advanced transportation networks, likely powered by secret military energy systems like UAP technology. There are at least 170 of these underground facilities under U.S. soil, but she suspects there are many more around the world, funded by unsupported adjustments in the U.S. Army spending budget, which were secretly funneled into this project, which can actually be confirmed by a 2017 report by economist Mark Skidmore that found $21 trillion in unauthorized government spending. Kinda sounds like they know something that we don't, but on sourdough is pretty good.
This might make you think twice before opening the door for strangers. The owner of this home was murdered after allowing these two men dressed up as DTE workers enter his home. Carlos Hernandez and Joshua Zuazo knocked on the 72-year-old couple's door in Rochester Hills and did the unthinkable. And it was all caught on camera when on the night of October 10th, Carlos is seen ringing the doorbell of the couple's home and telling them that he was a worker from DTE and was there to check a gas leak. The 72-year-old homeowner Hussein Murray told them to come back tomorrow because it was already too late. And that's exactly what these two men did. However, when they arrived the next morning, they took his life. Hussein led the two men to the basement where the furnace was, and that's when they attacked him and took his life. Hussein's wife Linda was upstairs when all of this was going on, and she said she didn't hear anything. When the two men went back upstairs after 10 to 15 minutes, she asked them, "Where's my husband?" And that's when they beat her and tied her wrists and ankles together. Hussein and his wife had a pretty well-known jewelry store in the city, and it seems like these two men targeted them because of that. And it turns out that they didn't even steal anything, because when they asked Linda where the money and jewelry was, she told them that they didn't keep it in the house. The two men were eventually caught and were charged with Hussein Murray's murder.
Be careful out there.
Mississippi shot a woman because she refused to have sex with him. Now, this is a direct quote from the prosecutors. It said the 78-year-old man shot the woman in the leg after she refused to get naked and have sex with him. Now, he was home with his son. His son tried to disarm the father. However, the guy shot at his son too. Thankfully, the woman lived, and thankfully, the son didn't die from his father shooting at him. How down bad do you have to be to shoot at a woman and then your son right after that, just because the woman doesn't want to do it with you? That's crazy. Now, he got sentenced to 30 years in prison. At this age, it's basically a life sentence. You know, he's going to spend his life behind bars, probably die in jail. Now, I saw this post on Facebook, and Facebook is a wild place because all the comments were saying how this guy is going to have a lot of what he was looking for in jail. The police said they took this crime very, very seriously because it was such a violent crime. You know, like he held a woman at gunpoint and then shot at his son when the son tried to help the woman. He tried to disarm his father too in the process. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys.
This aunt sued her nephew after they won the $1.2 million jackpot. Barb and Tyrone both had their names on the winning ticket, so they split the $1.2 million right in half. Barb said that although Tyrone bought the ticket for her, she never told him that she would split the jackpot with him. She then took Tyrone to court where she was rewarded $850,000, and Tyrone took the remaining $350,000. What do you guys think? Is this fair? Here's the
Would you take your own family to court over a lottery ticket, man? Did it really have to go there for y'all family? I couldn't work something out that had to be done in court. Man, money will drive a wedge between anybody, bro.
3 most illegal dog breeds, and trust me, you're gonna be shocked. The American Pit Bull Terrier is said to be one of the most masculine dogs, and they're known for always winning fights. They're now illegal to own in Canada, in Florida, and a bunch of other countries across the globe. The Japanese Tosa Inu is known to fight silently. meaning that when it's in combat, it doesn't even bark. It is now illegal to own in Denmark, Malta, and Norway. And finally, the Neapolitan Mastiff. This dog was actually used as a gladiator dog in the Roman Colosseum, and it's now illegal to own in the country of Singapore. Now let me know, would you want one of these dogs?
Male T-App just had a massive data breach. So this app called T on Her was a rival app to the T-App that was meant for men to talk about women. Now this app had you show your ID or selfie to show that you were indeed a male, and that was how you were accepted onto the app. Well, as it turns out, the T on Her app had the same exact security flaw as the original T app, and now everybody's data on there has been leaked. At the time of this breach, the T on Her app had over 50,000 users, so if you happen to be one of those, then your data was breached.
I want to ask the question, what do you think is the fastest man-made object ever made in history?
A bullet.
I'll guess a satellite. So, this is gonna blow your mind. Okay. So, the fastest man-made object in the world, and it's also the first man-made object to ever enter space. We sent something to space before Sputnik. Is something that we've made that goes 150,000 miles per hour. But I guarantee you've never heard of it because it's a manhole cover.
What?
Huh? A sewer manhole cover is the fastest man-made object to ever exist, and it's circling around in space, and here's how it happened. So in 1957, they're doing a ton of nuclear testing, right? And they did one where they dug this tunnel that was 3 feet wide and about 400 feet deep, right? So they're gonna blow this nuclear bomb. But on top of this tube, they have just a manhole cover. That's shot into space? This thing shoots up into space at 150,000 miles per hour. And is still to this day circling in space somewhere. It's the fastest man-made object that ever exists.
Legend says it's just past Saturn.
Yeah, for real.
I think young people need to drink more. I don't see drunkenness, I see togetherness.
Drink more alcohol.
Yeah, drink more. I think they need to get out and drink more. My advice to young people is to go out and drink more and make a series of bad decisions that might pay off. I think that we need more togetherness, more people, more sex, and more random encounters. And absolutely, people need to be in the company of strangers more and more. And I think young men are sequestering. We're turning into a different species of socially isolated, lonely people who become shitty citizens. And when women don't have a romantic relationship, they reinvest in work and their friends. When men don't have a relationship, they tend to just go down a rabbit hole.
Well, if you're a stalker and you like to stalk other people's pages, you are not gonna like this. Instagram just did an update, and on their update, they added a map feature. You heard what I said, a map feature. Here, take a look at it, read it for yourself. A new map feature allowing you to track and share locations with others, which basically means if you like to stalk people's pages or you're having some kind of internet thing with someone you're not supposed to, you're about to get caught. Here's just an example of what I'm talking about. You see right above right there under the map, nearby. It shows you exactly where people are so you can kind of communicate with those in your circle or in your neighborhood. Here's just another example of what I'm talking about.
It's dangerous.
For example, all these little dots on the map are either people that I'm following or people that are following me. And when they post, it shows their exact location. Hence the part where I said, some people on this app are now going to get themselves in a lot of trouble. So my suggestion to all is just turn the feature off, because this gets even more crazier, because if you actually zoom in really close on the person's image, it gives you the pinpoint exact location as to where they are. So I guess my question to you is, will you be turning it off, or will you be snooping around to see if people say they are where they are when they tell you they're going to be going someplace? Or are you just going to turn it off and just continue to use the app the way you have been? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always,
Lacey Fletcher, the woman who melted into her couch. Well, the people responsible for this have been sentenced. But let me remind you guys a little bit about 36-year-old Lacey. In 2022, she was found deceased on her family's couch, and apparently she sat there for 12 years without moving. So how exactly does that happen? Well, Lacey had severe autism and she was nonverbal, so she solely depended on her parents as her caregiver. But after years of neglect, she weighed less than 100 pounds. She was found covered in maggots at her own waist. And again, this is how the couch looked like when they found Lacey deceased. Lacey's cause of death was acute medical neglect, and ultimately her parents, Sheila and Clay Fletcher, were each sentenced this month to 40 years, but will only be serving 20 years in prison. Now, what's outrageous is that her parents, who went from this to this, testified that their daughter refused any medical attention. How can someone who couldn't communicate and completely relied on them refuse medical attention? A 36-year-old weighing less than 100 pounds. Let that sink in. This tragedy could have been prevented. There is no excuse.
Gross habits that are
case,
actually
man.
good for you. It's healthy for your stomach to burp after a meal because it means it's getting rid of excess air. When you bite your nails, you're actually consuming some of the bacteria under your fingernail. As a result, your immune system begins producing white blood cells, which fights against bacteria. Children who bite their nails or suck on their thumb are less likely to develop allergies, according to research. Before the last one, I just found this super addicting game that you'll never want to get rid of. You build your own kingdom and destroy others, and you can get it right here. Showering strips your skin of its essential oils, which is necessary to keep it hydrated and protected. So it's okay to go without showering for a day or two.
See, guys, tell me if y'all. I know y'all been seeing it in the freaking in the social media spheres, bro. Like, there's been a lot of freaking celebrities talking about how they really don't be showing it at all, or like they only do it like, I guess like once a week or something like that. Please tell me y'all don't follow that, bro. Don't be funky, seekers.
Secret rooms hidden in famous locations. In the Statue of Liberty, there's a small room hidden inside the torch, but no one can enter inside because it was damaged by the Germans in 1916. And although it was repaired, they still don't allow anyone inside just as a safety precaution. Mount Rushmore is famous for the 4 sculpted faces of the previous American presidents. But behind them is a secret vault, and inside is the secret Krabby Patty formula. Just kidding, they keep historical documents back there, like the Declaration of Independence, and the biography of the sculpture, and the history of construction, but no one can access them. Inside Big Ben, there's a secret room by the bell tower. Although it's no longer in use, it used to be a prison for people who breached the code of conduct, and I have no idea what that means. But before I show you the coolest one, I just found this game that you'll never want to get rid of. Build your own fortress and attack other people, and you can get it right here. The Tower of London is one of the most famous fortresses in the world. Underneath it is a pub that you can only get invited to by one of the other members.
What is the dumbest reason you can think of somebody committing a crime? I'm about to one-up your thought right now. This man from Pennsylvania behind me named Benjamin Gowell killed his girlfriend because he didn't like her haircut. And just because he didn't like her haircut, he stabbed her to death. This happened on Sunday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. in East Hempfield, Pennsylvania. Police were called, the EMTs transported 2 people out, and 1 person was pronounced dead at the scene, so there was 3 people involved here. The victim was Carmen Martinez Silva. Her brother was also present there. I'm assuming he tried to fight the suspect, her boyfriend, off. Her brother would get stabbed in the skull, and Carmen would be pronounced dead at the scene. They found Benjamin Gowell's kitchen knife in his car. Apparently Carmen was a little fearful of Gowell, so she went over to her daughter's place. Her daughter gave her a haircut, and that just infuriated him for some reason. She was scared to go back, so she went to her brother's place. That's when she informed him she would like to end the relationship because he was being crazy. He knocked on the brother's door. The brother told him she is not here. He came back a few minutes later with a knife, stabbed him, broke through their house, and then stabbed her multiple times. This is all over a haircut. A haircut's the thing that apparently sent this guy over the edge. Now he has 3 counts of aggravated assault, a homicide count, an attempted homicide count, and a bunch of reckless endangering counts. Obviously, with his girlfriend dying now, he will probably be getting life in prison. That's a first-degree murder right there.
Over a damn haircut, really? That has to be one of the most dumbest crimes we've heard yet. People, man, be doing the most stupidest things for no reason. Life in prison for a haircut.
You have to hear this. An Uber driver claims that he actually picked up a group of ghosts. A man in Savannah, Georgia, a town that is well known for its paranormal activity, says that he used to work for a car service. One night, the man whose name is William was sent to pick up 3 ladies from Foley House, a historic bed and breakfast in the heart of the city. When he got there, he saw 3 women dressed up in what he described as Southern Belle outfits. He said that he picked them up and they got in the cab. They were going to Elizabeth on 37th Street. He said that they were all chatting and laughing in the back seat, and he was having a good time just cruising. Williams said that when he got to the destination, he turned around and said, "Ma'am, your fare is going to be such and such." But shockingly, there was nobody else in the cab. He called his boss to tell him the unexplainable story, but before he could begin, his boss grew angry, asking him if he had picked up the 3 ladies from the Foley House. He said that he did, but there was nobody in the cab. To this day, William believes that he picked up 3 ghosts instead of the paying customers that had requested the ride.
Islands on Earth that if you
Ghost
go to,
Uber?
you will die. Up first is North Sentinel Island. It is home to the Sentinelese tribe. Those who go never make it out alive. Next is Spider Island. It's home to most of the biggest and deadliest spiders in the world. And trust me, these can definitely kill you. Next is Monkey Island. You've probably never heard of this, but this is a remote island in Puerto Rico, and it's home to some of the deadliest monkeys in the world. All the monkeys on this island carry one of the most lethal infections in the world. Finally, and this is probably the worst one, Reunion Island. The surrounding waters are completely overrun by sharks, and the population keeps increasing rapidly. In total, there have been 50 shark attacks at this island.
And people still go there? Monkey Island, Spider Island, Shark Island. It's like, pick your poison. Which one do you want to go? Which one you want to go to? If you had to choose out of all those 3, what would you pick, man? What you think you could survive on? I want to know.
Creepy relics of early 2000s Craigslist are completely unmatched. So back in the early 2000s, Craigslist was just this safe haven for some of the darkest fringes of society. It's the only way I can describe it. And just first off, we all know what a septic tank is, correct? They're very common, they have to be pumped, a lot of homes have them. So let's discuss the Alabama man who would pay you to go into yours. So his official ad says, "Some might judge me for this, but it's what I enjoy. I will pay you $150 an hour to bring my equipment in and gain access to your septic tank. I then have my associate close the tank after I set up my tripod and camera up. Believe it or not, it's a great place to reflect." And very unsurprisingly, not long after, a lot of videos leaked on LiveLeak of what was known as Septic Tank Man. Absolutely, the videos are shocking, but I think the more shocking part is how long ago this was and that nobody has ever identified who this man really was in Alabama.
The absolute scariest moments captured on camera. This eye-wrenching footage recorded on the 12th of January 2021 shows a group of people in a boat when a massive iceberg collapses. When the iceberg collapsed, it made a terrifying wave that was over 30 feet high.
Damn.
The group of people in the boat try to get away as fast as they can as this monstrous wave follows them. Thankfully, they get away safely just in time. That wave could have easily wiped them out.
It could have. Yeah, they hit the jets on that boat, bro. Full drive. Man, pictures, like I said, they tell a story. You never know, man. At the right moment, it could be your last moment, bro.
Kids with Real Superpowers Part 1. This kid, whose name is this one, I don't know how to pronounce it, and he's called the Cat Boy because he can see in the dark. As you can see, he has very bright blue eyes, and when he was seen by the doctors and asked many questions, they ended up in the conclusion that he can see in the dark. But there are a lot of people who claim that this is fake. Do you believe it's true or not?
When they entered the apartment, what they found was disturbing. The first thing that they saw was a skinny 4-year-old Benji with 2 big black eyes. But not just that, Benji had bruises all over his body. He also had an injury in his ear, and because of that, he had a gauze just like sticking out of his ear. The officer said that he was very skinny and did not look like a normal 4-year-old. When they asked why did Benji have all these injuries, Miranda and Brandon said that he had behavioral issues and that he would do this to himself. They said that he had a habit of constantly poking his eyes and ears, and that's why it caused those injuries. Then officers decided to bring Benji alone into the bathroom, and they asked him again, what happened to you? Benji said the same thing his parents said and told the officers that he did it to himself and that he poked at his eyes and ears. But when you watch the video, it doesn't sound genuine, and it kind of sounds like Benji was rehearsed and told to say that. They had locks on their fridge, on their kitchen cabinets, and everywhere where there was food. They also noticed a lot of cameras set up in the apartment, especially in the kitchen. From their point of view, it just looked a little bit odd. Why are there so many locks and why is there cameras everywhere? Now, they retrieved all these cameras and began looking at all the footage, and I was not prepared to see what I saw. I think this was one of the saddest videos I've seen in a while. Watching how this boy would sneak out of his room in the middle of the night to look for food, it literally broke my heart. It was said that before Miranda moved into the home, Benji was able to just go in and out of the cabinets and fridge and get whatever he wanted. But then these locks were added and it became more difficult for Benji to get food.
These identical twin sisters were pure evil. In 1952, in the quiet town of Eldridge, there were 2 identical twin sisters, Emily and Evelyn. On the surface, they appeared to be normal, sweet girls, but beneath that, they hid a sinister nature. A new girl named Clara moved into town, quickly gaining popularity, which angered the twins. The attention shifted away from them, and they grew envious. One evening, they invited Clara to a secret gathering in the woods, promising her a magical experience. The next morning, Clara was nowhere to be found. The town buzzed with rumors, but no one had proof of what happened. Weeks later, the twins' mother, Lorraine, overheard a disturbing conversation while passing by their room. She pressed her ear to the door and heard the chilling words, "We need another one." Clara wasn't enough. Horrified, Lorraine burst into the room, but it was empty. On the twins' beds, she found 2 dolls, identical to her daughters, and a 3rd doll with Clara's face. The twins were never seen again. Some say they still wander the forests, waiting to claim their next victim.
What do you guys think? Is that like a creepy folklore story? Because there'd be some realism to that. I think that's a folklore to me. I think that we heard a folklore story right there. But
These are the scariest serial killers from each state, part 1. Up first is Nanny Doss from Alabama, also known as the Giggling Granny. She married 5 times and murdered 4 of her husbands, and the only one that survived was her first husband. She also poisoned 11 of her family members. Her first 2 victims were her children, who allegedly died from food poisoning. She got the nickname the Giggling Granny because she would always laugh at the crime she committed. She killed 11 people and is definitely the scariest serial killer from Alabama.
You telling me it's her own daughters?
As of right now, this is definitely in my top 10, absolutely top 5. It is easily one of the most uniquely effective horror movies. This movie is about a woman named Ella who is a stop-motion animator working with her mother. And when the mother becomes hospitalized, it is up to Ella to finish her mother's vision, which Ella doesn't really want to do. And with the help of this random little girl from down the hallway, Ella tries to create a film like no other. However, when the world of reality and the world of stop motion start to really bleed together, it's going to make you wonder for the entire runtime of the movie, what is real? Now, in my opinion, I absolutely loved this movie. I don't know if the director is a genius or accidentally one, because everything in this movie just somehow works, and it works without answering all of your questions. It is a very dreamlike and ethereal type movie, so from the start, you're kind of questioning about everything, which some people are going to love and some people are really not going to like. And it goes without saying, the stop motion animation in this is perfectly creepy. If you've seen any of the previous works of the director, take the weirdness and tone of that and put it into a movie. Now, as far as like what type of scares to be prepared for in this movie, it's a good mix of a lot of different things. A handful of jump scares here and there, but what it's really effective is when the purpose of the movie is just to solely creep you out. But a warning to the squeamish, there are a couple of body horror scenes that can be kind of rough. They're extraordinarily well done. Just keep that in mind towards the end. Now, stop motion has a very limited run in theaters. Hopefully, there's more showings in the future. But the good news is, stop motion will be streaming on Shudder on May 31st. If you've seen this movie, what do you guys think?
What if I told you the mother behind me
you
was
seen that?
feeding her sons to cannibals? Behind me is Klara Maurova. She's from the Czech Republic and she had 2 sons, Jacob and Andrej. Her and her sister were part of this weird cult called the Grail movement. They believed by doing good deeds that they would go to heaven. Now here's where it gets dangerous. This cult also believed that they were free to commit any crimes they wanted to and nothing would affect them. And they were also cannibals. Things now got even stranger when her sister showed up with an adopted Norwegian child named Annika. She was 13 years old. Some people believe she was actually 30 and posing as a child. She was in a trafficking ring and had a lot of sympathy for her. Soon, Klara started to forget about her sons and started thinking about adopting Annika as her own. That's when this weird doctor started emailing and texting her out of nowhere. He claimed to be Annika's physician. She met up with him, he showed her her medical records, he gained her trust. The doctor said to Klara that you cannot adopt Annika because her sons are so mean to her. This was the doctor's plan all along as a cult leader. You guys remember that cult I was talking about at the beginning of the video? The doctor is like the head of this cult. He said to fix this, she needs to beat her boys as much as she can, for every little thing, and she fell for it. This was to cure their evil spirits. The doctor said these treatments are not working now. You need to take them to a cottage very far off from everyone else. She met up there. There were several people there, including her sister and Annika's brother. The boys were put in cages and tortured in every single way you can think possible. People there started to skin the boys and eat their flesh. They also made the boys eat their own flesh as well. And Annika, the 13-year-old, she kept saying the boys were still being mean to her to continue this abusive cycle. She was also part of that cult and she was not 13. The whole cottage shock therapy ended and they went back home. The boys were treated the exact same back home though by their mother Klara. They were put in a cellar and locked up in there. Annika was living life in a room with a ton of toys and got everything she wanted. She was basically manipulating Klara this entire time. Now here's the way that she got caught and it is crazy. Her neighbor was setting up a baby monitor for his newborn baby. Now, back in like the early 2000s, if you had a baby monitor nearby, it could pick up that signal and you could see what's in there. It could jam a little bit. He managed to see these boys tied up in cages in her basement. Could you imagine the horrifying look he had on his face seeing this? And he did what every good person would do. He called the police immediately to get them some help. The police came, everybody was arrested. Klara, her sister, and Annika. And it turns out Annika was a 33-year-old woman. Her real name was Barbara Sklorova. This is a picture of Barbara Sklorova right here, aka Annika, and she was the basis for the movie Orphan. In case the story is sounding familiar, it's basically Orphan. The doctor was actually the father of that girl Annika, aka Barbara. And Klara's sister was in on this cult the entire time and manipulated her. They all got about 5 to 10 years in prison. This story definitely had the wildest turn of events I've read about.
5 to 10 years after all that? I never even knew Orphan was based off that. I've seen that picture before. That's how I saw the simulators. I'm like, there's always freaking truth behind those stories, man. In media, what we're seeing now. It's a shame.
This is how you would survive if you were in a zombie apocalypse. It's Saturday. You're in your room watching Netflix. But alone though, because you're single forever. All of a sudden, you get an emergency alert on your phone. A zombie apocalypse is real and has just begun. The news report states that global warming melted a glacier that had ancient viruses in it. Those viruses spread like wildfire, giving humans erotic and aggressive behavior. The virus spreads by saliva, so it causes its host to bite uninfected humans, similar to rabies. To survive, the virus feeds on your flesh, slowly deteriorating anybody it infects. 1 minute into the zombie apocalypse, you start to panic, still processing what's going on, what you just saw. You call and check on all your family members, but you don't go to their homes because anybody can be infected and you're afraid. 3 minutes in, you calm yourself down, lock your doors and windows, and think about running to the gun store for protection and the supermarket to get food and supply. But you decide not to, because remember, where there are people, there are zombies. zombies. 20 minutes in, you realize you can't do this alone. You won't survive without a good crew. After all, teamwork makes the dream work. You call your loyal friends, families, anyone you know that can join your crew. 46 minutes in. You start thinking strategically. You wear all your leather clothes so that if a zombie tries to bite you, it's harder for him to get through. You leave your car because eventually it'll run out. It'll need gas. So you grab your bike instead. Plus, a car makes too much noise anyway. 3 hours later, you and your crew are finally all together. You're safer this way. The first plan of action is to get out of the city. It's crowded with people who can potentially be zombies. So you need to go to a more secluded area. You and the crew decide to go north, where the temperature is much more colder and can potentially make the zombies move a little slower. 2 days in, on your way out of the city, zombies attack. One of your crew members gets bitten. They tell you to take them out before they turn into a monster. You don't want to, but sadly you honor your friend's wishes and continue on. 3 days in, you guys are now living in a cabin you found in the woods. You don't have much supplies, so you and 2 of your crew members volunteer to go get some. All you have is a knife for protection. You guys find a local store 30 minutes away and grab everything you need. All of a sudden, zombies come running in. One jumps on your back before you can even react and tries biting you, but the leather jacket you have on protects you. Thank God he couldn't get through. You use the knife you have and take him out. You and your crew hop on the bikes to get away, but sadly one of your members get devoured. 5 days in, you can't stay in this cabin hideout anymore. It's surrounded by zombies. More and more zombies are starting to appear in the area. You and the crew decide that it's actually time to pack up and head out. You need better protection, so y'all find a local abandoned building. It's made of bricks, so this should be a little more safer. You block off all the entrances you can find. You need to recharge, so you all rest while switching shifts, being the lookout. 10 days in. It's only been 10 days, but it feels like forever. You manage to get more supplies more wisely this time. These supplies will keep you alive for days. You get non-perishables, like rice, canned food, beans,
Stack
and
up.
oatmeal. 1 month in. The area is swarming with zombies. You can't stay in this building any longer. You and the crew head to the docks to find a boat to travel in. It'll be safer this way because zombies can't swim. Finally, you guys find one and can sail to a new location. You guys jump off the boat to go find food. You have hunting and fishing gear. While hunting, all of a sudden you hear a loud whoop. It's a bear. Not only a bear though, it's a zombie bear. The virus is now spreading to animals. You and the crew make a run for it, back to the boat. 4 months in, you got no more food and the crew is starving. It's only 3 of you left and you're stuck on the boat. The engine will no longer start. It's out of gas. Zombie animals and people are surrounding the area. You pray, and you guys listen to the radio to figure out if there's any good news or any updates. Everything just seems hopeless. 4 months and 8 days in. This is it. You've lost hope. You and your friends are done for. There's only 3 of you. But you want to live. You don't want to die, but you're starving. You have no other choice but to eat your friends.
Oh, man.
1 year in. You finally stay in a fort you built, but zombies are surrounding it. Luckily, you were smart enough to build traps all around. You sneak through an underground tunnel which leads to the backyard where you can escape. Just in time before they got in your fort. 1.5 years in. You're on the radio and you discover there's a colony that survived. They're looking for other survivors. You send an SOS immediately. It won't be long before you are noticed and possibly eaten by zombies. You are on your last leg. No food, no water, no shelter. You barely have strength to walk. You start to lose all hope. All of this was for nothing. But then you hear a helicopter up above. It's the survival colony you sent the SOS to. They rescue you and you survive. But is this finally the end or just the beginning?
Could you guys have survived all that, man? Zombie apocalypse. There's no guy for that, man. Whew. I think I would go to the freaking gun store and just get protection. Just move on from there. Hey, that's my thoughts. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, make sure you guys like this video. Comment down below. Follow me on my social medias. You guys, gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.